Agreeing to help a struggling coworker with her dogs during a family emergency quietly evolves into navigating overwhelming emotional attachment, blurred boundaries, and the fear of becoming responsible for more than was ever intended. When my coworker asked if I could check in on her dogs while she traveled across the country for a family emergency, I agreed right away, without even thinking twice. I knew she didn't have anyone else around to help her, and she's always been a nice person to me at work. It felt like the right thing to do, something simple like dropping by a couple of times a day to feed them, let them out, and make sure everything was okay. I honestly didn't mind helping her like that. It felt manageable, and I knew it would take a little bit of stress off her plate while she dealt with everything going on with her family. But then today, right before she left, she pulled me aside and asked if I could stay overnight at her house for 2 nights. She said she was worried about her dogs being alone, and that it would mean a lot to her if I could sleep there. She even said she'd pay me, though she made it clear money was tight for her right now. I didn't commit to anything. I just told her I'd think about it. The truth is, though, the idea of staying over makes me incredibly uncomfortable. I've never been to her house before. I don't know the neighborhood. I would be completely alone there, sleeping in a stranger's space. That might not seem like a big deal to most people, but for me, it is. I have CPTSD, complex post-traumatic stress disorder. Being in new environments, especially by myself, is something that really triggers my anxiety. It's not a mild kind of nervousness either. It's the type that keeps me on high alert, heart pounding, mind racing, unable to relax or sleep. Even though my logical mind knows I'd probably be fine, my body doesn't respond logically. It goes into full survival mode. And the idea of signing myself up for 2 nights of that, just to avoid disappointing someone, is terrifying. She knows I'm an anxious person. I've been open about my PTSD at work to some extent, just so people understand if I seem withdrawn or overwhelmed sometimes. But I don't think she fully grasps how deep it runs. I don't blame her for that. Unless you've lived with it, it's hard to understand. Still, it makes it harder to explain why I have to say no. To make it even more complicated, she's an emotional person. Kind, yes, but unpredictable at times. In the 6 months we've worked together, I've seen how easily her feelings can get hurt. She's told me before that she doesn't have many good relationships with our other coworkers and that she feels like no one ever helps her. It makes me sad for her, honestly. I think she carries a lot of pain, and I hate the idea of adding to it by telling her no. Part of me wants to push through my discomfort just to avoid hurting her feelings. I keep thinking, it's only 2 nights. You can tough it out. But the more I sit with it, the more I realize that toughing it out would come at a real cost to me, mentally, emotionally, and physically. I know myself well enough now to know what my limits are, and this crosses them. Still, the guilt is eating at me. I hate feeling like I'm letting someone down, especially someone who's already going through so much. But I also know that if I give in to guilt now and force myself into a situation that's unsafe for my mental health, I'll end up feeling resentful. And once that resentment creeps in, it'll damage the relationship I have with her anyway. I'm also thinking about the bigger picture. If I say yes to something I'm not comfortable with just to avoid an awkward conversation, I'm setting a precedent. She might feel like it's okay to ask for more and more in the future. Not because she's malicious, but because I wouldn't have shown her where my limits are. And then it'll be even harder to say no next time. I keep going over how I'm going to word it. I want to be as gentle as possible, but still clear. Something like, I thought about it and I'm really sorry, but I'm not comfortable staying overnight. I'm still absolutely happy to check in on the dogs like we originally talked about. I hope you understand. I want her to know that it's not about her. It's not that I think she's unsafe or that I don't trust her. It's just that for my own well-being, I have to draw a line. I'm hoping that if I say it kindly and firmly enough, she'll hear my heart behind it. It's such a hard balance, wanting to be a good, supportive friend and coworker, but also needing to take care of myself. In the past, I would have ignored my instincts, said yes, and paid the price in panic attacks and sleepless nights. But I've worked hard to get to a place where I honor my needs too. So even though I feel guilty, I'm reminding myself that setting a boundary isn't mean. It's not selfish. It's actually a way of being honest, respectful, and real, both to her and to myself. I hope she'll understand. And if she doesn't, I'll deal with that too. I can be kind without being a doormat. I can help her without hurting myself. And I can care about her feelings while still protecting my own peace. While my coworker was away dealing with a family emergency, I checked in on her dogs every day just like I promised. I fed them, gave them attention, made sure they were okay. But I didn't spend the night at her house. I had told her from the start that I wasn't comfortable staying overnight, and even though I felt guilty about it, I stuck to that boundary. She didn't, and still doesn't, have any local, reliable friends or family who could help her during that time. I was the only one she trusted, and that was a lot of weight to carry, knowing she was counting on me so heavily. When she offered to pay me, I politely declined. I knew she was struggling financially, and it didn't feel right to take money from her. But she insisted, actually slipped the cash into my backpack without me knowing. When I found it, I didn't feel good about keeping it. So after I finished my last visit feeding the dogs, I left the money behind in her house. It was important to me to help her without making her feel like she owed me anything. When she got back, she told me that I had restored her faith in humanity. She said we were basically sisters now. And then, almost casually, she told me that if anything happened to her, she was willing her dogs to me. That immediately set off alarm bells in my head. I told her right away that I wouldn't be able to take her dogs. There are 3 of them, and realistically, I can't afford that kind of commitment financially, emotionally, or time-wise. I barely have the bandwidth to manage my own life, let alone 3 more lives depending on me. She kind of brushed it off, saying that I would fall in love with them, and it would all work itself out. I didn't push the issue right then, but deep down, it unsettled me. Because if she's willing to owe me her dogs without much discussion, what else might she consider leaving to me without really asking if I wanted that responsibility? And just to be clear, she's not dying, at least not that I know of. There's no major health crisis that she's told me about. It's more like this sense of preparing for the worst combined with a deep fear of being alone, and I happen to be the person standing closest at the moment. I care about her. I truly do. I want the best for her. I want her to feel supported, to know she's not completely alone in the world. But I also feel like our relationship has crossed way beyond what I ever intended. I never set out to become someone's sister at work. I never wanted to get that emotionally enmeshed. Work, for me, is work. I like keeping my personal and professional lives separate. I don't mind being friendly, even being kind, but I try really hard not to form deep attachments in work settings. Partly because I value my independence, and partly because I know that someday I might want to move on to a new job without feeling tangled up in emotional obligations. But now, here we are. We work one-on-one in a very small office. I see her almost every day. Pulling back sharply from the relationship would absolutely make the work environment uncomfortable, maybe even hostile. And that's the last thing I want. I'm not looking to create drama. I just want to quietly reset things so they feel a little more balanced. The real question weighing on me now is, how do I make sure she doesn't and legally can't will me her dogs or anything else for that matter? Because it's not just about the dogs. It's about the boundary. About protecting my life, my space, my future from being tied to something I didn't agree to and don't want. I'm thinking I'll have to be very direct, but very gentle. Something along the lines of, I'm honored that you trust me so much, but I really need to be clear that I can't take on the responsibility of your dogs, or anything else, in the future. It's not something I'm able to commit to, and I want to be honest about that now so there's no confusion later. It feels scary to even imagine saying that. But I know I have to. Otherwise, she might keep building these assumptions in her head, assumptions that are based on hope and trust, but not on anything I actually agreed to. And if it ever came down to it legally, I could probably refuse anything I didn't sign for. But I don't want it to get to that point. I don't want to blindside her, or hurt her feelings more than necessary. I just want clear, healthy boundaries. I want to help where I can, but not at the cost of my own peace of mind, or my ability to live my life freely. It's a delicate balance. Being kind without being consumed. Being supportive without being swallowed whole. Being compassionate, but still protecting myself. And that's the line I'm trying to figure out how to walk. Every day I step into that tiny little office. She had already left for the day. We have a weird work schedule that's too dumb and complicated to even explain. So while I was sitting at my desk, not busy, I started writing all of this out, just trying to make sense of it. When I first got here this morning before she left, she brought it up again. The conversation went something like this. I was thinking about what I said yesterday, and I almost called you last night to ask, but which one of my dogs is your favorite? Which one would you prefer to inherit? At first, I assumed it was a hypothetical question.
just a silly offhand thing.
I kind of laughed nervously and said, "Oh, gosh, I don't know. Probably smallest dog because we don't have much room where we live." I was trying to deflect, keep it light. She said, "Really? I thought you'd choose other slightly larger dog." And I laughed again, uncomfortable, and said, "Well, I wouldn't really be able to take any of them, most likely." She brushed it off casually, saying, "Yeah, well, I'm not going to die before my dogs anyway. But I know your heart, and I know you would take all 3 of them for me." I tried to be a little firmer but still gentle. I said, "Oh, I really wouldn't be able to care for all of them." She said, "Yes, still, I'm not dying, but I know you'd figure it out." At that point, I realized she wasn't really listening to me. She wasn't hearing the boundary I was trying to set. So I tried again, a little more bluntly. "If you died tomorrow, I would not be able to take your dogs." She just laughed and said, "I just know you would." And I said, "No, I honestly couldn't. I'd have to rehome them." And then she smiled and said, "Well, that'd be for you to figure out. But I know you'd love them so much that you'd either keep them or find them good homes. And if you don't, I'll haunt you." She was half joking, but also she wasn't. And now, I'm back to worrying again. When I posted about this before, someone commented that I clearly struggle with setting boundaries. And yeah, they're right. I do. I know that. It's something I've been working on with my therapist, and I plan to bring this whole situation up in my next session. It's not the first time my kindness has been taken advantage of. Another person pointed out how sad the situation must be for her, and that's one of the things that makes this so hard. She's had a brutally hard, traumatic life. She's told me so much about it. Honestly, it feels like she's trauma dumped her whole life story onto me. And I feel for her. I really do. I care about her feelings. I don't want to hurt her. I don't want her to feel even more abandoned than she already does. She's also been very supportive of me while I've been learning this job. She's patient. She explains things. She's helped me when I was overwhelmed. I'm grateful for that. And that just makes me feel even guiltier for feeling trapped now. The thing is, I try really hard to draw clear lines with coworkers. I like being friendly, being polite, but I also like my boundaries. Most people pick up on that and leave me alone. But she's just crashed through almost all of them. I mean, for fuck's sake, we share a tiny office. And she pees with the door wide open and talks to me at the same time like it's the most normal thing in the world. I sit there, completely frozen, not even sure where to look, trying to pretend it's not happening, trying to keep things from getting any weirder than they already are. I feel like I'm stuck between 2 bad options. Either let her keep crossing my boundaries and feel more and more trapped and resentful, or risk hurting her feelings by trying to pull back and make my day-to-day life at work really uncomfortable. Neither one feels good. I'm trying to remind myself, I have the right to set boundaries. I have the right to say no. Even if she's lonely, even if she's had a hard life, even if she's kind to me. Her pain doesn't mean I have to give up my comfort. Her loneliness doesn't mean I have to be the person who saves her. I just wish it didn't all feel so heavy. I wish kindness didn't turn into feeling obligated. I wish helping someone didn't turn into inheriting their life. And I wish I knew how to say no without feeling like the worst person alive. But for now, I'm just trying to breathe through it. Trying to survive sharing this tiny office, one weird day at a time.